Here is part 2 of the atheism series, where we'll discuss the inconsistencies and problems with the atheistic worldview. So some of the people that I have studied, whenever I was an atheist, was Matt Dillahunty, Richard Dawkins. They were like, kind of like my heroes. They really helped me to break out of religion. But then I realized that atheism itself is a bubble, a worldview, that there's something even greater than that, which is spirituality and philosophy and postmodernism, deconstructing all that worldview. So what is some of the issues with atheism? Well, first, like I hinted at in part 1, is the closed-mindedness. If you ever point out to an atheist that there's a possibility that God does exist, but that maybe it cannot be proven, they'll immediately start shutting down and using their skepticism against you. They'll start projecting it outwards, and they won't really actually take your point seriously. They won't try to steel man it and understand it, because there are things that exist that cannot be proven, such as, do you exist? You exist, but you could never prove to me that you exist. You could just be an AI or a figment of my dream imagination. Like, we could be in the Matrix right now. Like, do you see that there's things that do exist, but that you could never prove? Like, you can't prove that some crime happens, right? But the crime could still have happened. So the same thing is kind of with God, is that God could exist, but you could not prove it because maybe, whatever, God is just outside of the comprehension for right now. But then that also creates paradoxes of, well, if God's outside of your comprehension, then how can you ever know that it exists in the first place, right? We'll get to that. But one of the issues with atheists that I see, especially with Matt Dillahunty, is that they do not want to admit that they take anything on faith. They have a very evidentialist epistemology, where everything that they know has to be backed up by evidence, right? Like, we can only know things if we have sufficient evidence for them, and if there is no evidence for something, then we should not believe in it. But the thing is atheists don't want to admit that they have faith in things, because then that leaves room for faith being okay. At least that's how I'm interpreting it. I mean, I was on board whenever I was an atheist, but then I started to question, like, well, there are things that I as an atheist took on faith, right? Like, I have faith that I'm going to get on a plane and it'll be okay. Like, I might doubt it, but is there any evidence that I have that the water that I'm drinking is okay? I hear what Matt Dillahunty and what these atheists are saying, that, big claims, require big evidence, but practically in your life, you don't go around checking to see if your water isn't contaminated. I mean, it's a good idea, but practically, you sit on your chair without testing it first. You take a lot of things for granted already on faith. You drive your car having faith that you'll get to work. I mean, you have to have some faith in your life, otherwise you can't operate. Like, you have faith in your partner. Faith, how atheists have defined it, is belief without evidence. But yet, there are things that you do believe unconsciously without evidence, such as like drinking your water. Like, you subconsciously believe that this water is okay to drink, but you don't know. There could be some arsenic that got in your water and contaminated it, but you don't test that in your life. So that is some of the problems with atheism, and I'll continue this in my next part.